All right, so taking your position on the mat, whether that's on your back, flat knees to the ceiling, or your feet on 2 blocks and your knees on a pillow or bolster. Let's take several deep, slow breaths in through the nose. And then exhale, open mouth, sigh it out, let it go. Slow breath in through the nose. And exhale, open the mouth, sigh it out, let it go. Take one final breath here, knowing you can always return to this breath. Deep breath in. And slow exhale, let it go. As you begin to orient yourself in space and time, the space being here and the time being now. And as we come into the space on our mat, letting the outside world fade around us for the next 60 minutes, we take time to honor and acknowledge the indigenous stewards of the land who come before us. And every day we deepen our yogic practice on and off the mat. And we do so by honoring the first and earliest practitioners of yoga that come from the subcontinent of India. My teachers, Yael Flusberg, Jessie Faye Cates, all practice and honor the lineage from our early teachers in India. So as you settle in, if you're just joining us, we're meeting on our backs, whether that's flat on your back or knees up to the sky, or in a supported butterfly shape with your feet on 2 blocks and your knees on a pillow or a blanket, back on the ground. I invite you to begin to check in with yourself and describe to yourself 2 words about how you're feeling today. In coming weeks, we may do this in a larger group, but today, the opportunity to take the time to be fully honest and present with yourself about how you're feeling. So 2 words that best describe what this moment is for you. So you can also be in contradiction. You can be happy and sad. You can be tired and sleepy, whatever that is. But take time to name what those feelings are. Name what you're bringing onto the mat with you today. And as you start to make the connection with how you're feeling to your physical body, so noting how you're feeling physically, where you're feeling the most bound, where you're feeling the most tight or open, maybe where these feelings, emotions are starting to show up physically. Try and approach this with a practice of ahimsa, meaning nonviolence. Ahimsa is the first yama, and the yamas are the first limb of the practice of yoga, or the 8-limbed path of yoga, which is the practice I share with you all today along the 8-limbed path. So we will show up so many different ways. Each day is different, each hour can be different. And how can we start here in this moment? By practicing ahimsa, by treating ourselves with kindness. Because if we can start to show kindness to ourselves, we can begin to show kindness to others. So even as you're taking this journey, understanding and scanning the body and noticing where it's at physically and its connection to how you're feeling and showing up, how can you do so with compassion, without judgment? How can you begin to practice ahimsa right now? And as it feels right for you, start to bring an awareness to your breath. Observing how your breath is moving in and out of your body. How is your breath flowing? Is your breath bound by the same restrictions of the physical body at the moment? Or does it seem to have a little bit of an edge to get into those more restricted or tight places? And are the emotions or the challenges that you're bringing with you onto the mat today affecting the breath? And I always think it's important to notice too, if this is the first time you've noticed your breath today and what that brings up. And it's okay if it is, this is not a judgment. It's just important to note that and go, oh yeah, I wasn't noticing my breath before. And I might have been holding it during that meeting. Seeing if we can let it flow freely now. And then as you're ready, begin to bring your awareness to the space in between the eyes, the third eye center, the seat of our intuition. We'll take 2 checks in here. But first, we're going to check in with the mind. How is the mind operating today? Does it seem slow and steady like a stream? Or is it rough and ragged, maybe like an ocean in the middle of the storm? Or the stream in the middle of the storm? Depends on where you're at. And we can use different techniques to help us distract ourselves from the distractions of the mind. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But if you're carrying a lot of thoughts with you today, I invite you to gather up all your thoughts on a cloud or in a car, whatever, in a balloon maybe. Gather them all up. And then on your exhale, slowly let the thoughts that aren't serving you drift out of the mind. Beginning to soften the outer edges of the mind. Letting thoughts enter in one at a time without engaging with them. We don't need to perfect any technique when it comes to softening the mind. Some days it'll be much easier than others. So we're just going to be in the experience of this moment. And as you begin to slow the mind, maybe even still it, take an inner ear to the rest of the sensations that are coming up in the body. What are you being told internally about what you need from your practice today? About what will serve you best and how to meet yourself best? This may be a time where you set your sankalpa, your intention for your practice, one that you can carry with you throughout your day. Let this be something true and concrete to you, not worrying about anything else. Repeating your sankalpa to yourself at least 3 times to help it sink in. Reminding yourself you can always come back to it at any point in the practice. And as you're ready, draw your focus and gentle awareness back to your breath. Do keep an inner ear on other sensations, emotions, or physical things that are coming up in the body throughout the practice so that we can adjust for them. So we can create more room for the breath and hopefully more peace in the body. But as you draw your focus to your breath, start to envision your breath entering in and out through your nose. Moving into a diaphragmatic breath, breathing in deeply to the belly, the back, and the ribs as you inhale. And on an exhale, slowly feel the back, belly, and ribs all contract and come back to the midline. And we contract, we're not sucking anything in. It's just a natural movement back towards center. And everybody's breath is going to be very different. So let this be individualized. Let this be very personal to what you need right now. As you continue to explore the breath, if you find that this deep breathing is bringing up anxiety or sadness or anything that just doesn't really serve you at the moment, and you don't even want to dip a toe into that feeling, that's fine. Suspend the breath and return to a more natural rhythm. As you've started to develop your relationship with your breath and where it's at now, we're going to begin our pranayama exercise for this afternoon. And we're going to take a triangle breath, as I like to call it, using the exhale to help calm the body, calm the mind. And so as you're breathing here, just very naturally or in your diaphragmatic breath, notice which side of the breath is maybe a little bit more shorter or shallow or just doesn't want to move as much. And that's where we'll start in terms of the breath. So as you inhale, you'll match your inhale to that shortest part of the breath, breathing in slowly and steadily. You'll add in a slight pause or retention at the top. And as we pause and hold the breath, try to think about not holding the breath in the shoulders and drawing the breath in, but letting the breath rest nicely in the chest. And then from here, extend your exhale through the nose or through the mouth, completely up to you. So extend the exhale longer than the inhale, maybe by 2 or 4 additional counts. And if you found your exhale to be the shortest, shorten your inhale and then begin to extend your breath that way. So slow breath in, again, working with your natural rhythm today. A pause and retention at the top, trying to match the pause and retention to your inhale. Resting nicely in your chest. I think it's okay if it's challenging today. Just work with it. And then a slow exhale out. Extending the exhale beyond the length of your inhale. We'll be here for about another 2 minutes to just work within that breath. As you continue to become more familiar with this breath, I invite you to notice your jaw And if you're holding tension in your jaw, go ahead and maybe wiggle it around, and then put a space in between your jaw, even parting the teeth and or the lips. What's interesting is that if we hold a lot of tension in our jaw, it has been said and found that we will tend to hold a lot of tension in our pelvis. So something to consider. It may not, completely release the pelvis, but it can help. Everything in the body is related. So continue to breathe here. This next minute will be in silence, because you don't need me talking no more. And as you're ready, slowly begin to let your breath return to its natural rhythm, observing what's happening here with your breath and with the body. What do you notice has come up or has let go? And then as you're ready, I'm going to invite you to roll off to the side if you're using props, and then just move your props off to the side, returning to your back and extending your legs out nice and long. So as we come onto our backs and our legs are extended out long, we're going to interlace our fingers lightly, so we're not gripping our fingers, but interlacing the fingers and drawing the right knee into your chest as you inhale. On the exhale, gently move the thigh to the outside of your right ribs. Bring the knee a little closer to the chest. If you just ate, be very mindful about how much pressure you're putting on your belly here, okay? This is our psoas stretch. Our psoas is a deep-rooted hip muscle. It connects from the lower ribs to the hips and helps us with walking and staying stable. And so placing the amount of pressure you need on the knee, on the thigh to press into the psoas. Remember, with everything, it doesn't have to be a super intense feeling, a super intense stretch to get the benefits out of it. Listen to where the body is at. Feel free to move the belly to the side as well if you need it. And we'll be here for 3 minutes. So let the head be heavy, the neck be nice and long. And as you settle in here, notice where you're holding unnecessary tension. So are your feet gripping? Or are your hands, even though we've interlaced them, are they like gripping for dear life? If anything is gripping for dear life, back out of the shape a little bit. Return to your breath and ease into the body as it starts to loosen. Bring a gentle awareness back to your breath. I invite you to begin an affirmation, one that is very simple and we've used before when we were all able to gather in person. As you breathe, just name the breath. So as you inhale, name it inhale or breathing in. And as you exhale, naming it exhale or breathing out. And the remainder of the time, We'll be in silence. You can focus on your needs and listen to your body. On your next exhale, gently release your right leg, taking any movement that calls to you. So be very mindful as you move out of the right side, noting any tension that's releasing, any other sensations that are coming up in the body, and honoring those sensations. So if movement is what you need, feel free to take that. If stillness is what you need, take that. And then on your next inhale, interlacing your fingers, drawing the left knee into your chest. And as you exhale, moving the left leg to the outside of the rib cage. And placing a little pressure on the thigh. So each side can be very different, just based on the patterns in our body and where we are holding our feelings today. Like I said, that's going to be different for every person. So there's no right or wrong. I invite you back into your breath. Bringing your awareness there. And finding, once again, your affirmation. Inhale and exhale. Be quiet this next 3 minutes. Let you be in the shape and be in your body. And your next exhale, gently release the left leg, taking any movement or finding stillness. We will all meet in stillness eventually in our puddle pose. But honor where you're at this moment, taking what you need. When you do find your puddle pose, it might be nice to bring your hands to your low belly, or one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart, or just let the arms rest by your sides. So checking back in, noting how you feel physically, emotionally, mentally, noting any other sensations in the body, and observing your breath. And then as you're ready, draw your knees to the sky. We're going to come into a variation on our saddle pose, which targets the front side of the legs, the tension fascia, and the tension fascia lata. So as our knees are to the sky, begin to bring your right heel toward your left glute, and the right foot and leg are going to cross underneath the left leg. Left leg is still bent. And then from here, the right knee is going to open out to the side. So the heel is going to be toward the left glute, and the right leg is on the ground in an external rotation. Feel free to draw the ground closer to yourself by bringing a block, pillow, blanket underneath your right leg. That way you're not having to hold it up, and you can let gravity and the body really take over the sensation and take over the stretch here. And you'll hang out. If anybody needs anything, let me know. But come back to your breath. We're going to be on each side for about 4 minutes. I'm going to tell you time, not to be like, oh my gosh, 4 minutes is forever, even though it may feel like that. I fully recognize that. But so you can switch your thinking about it and be like, oh, I've got 4 minutes to really get into the shape and start to understand where my body is at in the shape. We don't contort our body to meet the shape. The shape meets where we're at. And so breathing here. Depending on what your day is like on a physical level, if you're sitting a lot, if you've added in different exercises, things like that, that can all change what you're feeling physically here. And also a physical feeling can be connected to our emotions, other challenges, our breath, and even all of our thoughts. So take a time to check back in, notice those things, and continue to approach the shapes and approach the physical practice with ahimsa, with kindness, with nonviolence toward ourselves. I'm going to let you be silent for the remainder of this shape, letting you know when it's time to move out. As you're ready, slowly start to release yourself from the shape. Once again, taking any movements that you might need. You can even come into a down dog here if that calls to you. You can draw yourself into a ball. Whatever feels good. And then in your time, in your space, just bring your feet back to the floor and knees up to the sky. No rush. You may have heard my dog barking there. She accidentally got locked in the master bedroom. She does not care for that. But she's been freed now. Just as we will free our other side, we'll begin to bring our left heel toward the right glute, right knee up to the sky, and then open up the left knee to the side. Once again, blocks, blankets, towels, whatever you need to place underneath the knee to support yourself, protect the knee, draw the ground closer to you. Use the props to support you so you can begin to settle into the space. Coming back to your breath here. We'll have 4 minutes in this shape. So what are you noticing that is coming up? What is the body indicating that it needs? And how can you continue to practice ahimsa, nonviolence? Does that mean more props? Does that mean the focus on the breath? Does that mean just kind words to yourself? It's a variety of meanings. So just begin to explore and experiment what works for you. And as you're ready, slowly begin to come out of your shape, taking your time. Take what movement calls to you. Return your breath to what feels good. And then find your way to your puddle pose as you're ready on your back. Maybe move onto your belly this time or onto your side. If you're coming onto your side, this is a great opportunity for a hug. If you haven't had a hug today, or even if you're turning onto your back, maybe pause and give yourself a hug. There's many ways to find it. But just that little act of kindness towards yourself. Once again, noting how you feel, letting the energy that may have been released redistribute in the body. Reconnecting with your breath. And then as you're ready, in your space and your time, just begin to make your way up to a comfortable seat. You might want to, on your way up, just move any blocks or books closer to you, as we'll be using them in our next shape. So we're going to come into, take your time, I can talk you through this. We're going to come into a half butterfly shape. I'm going to start by demonstrating on my left side of the body, but feel free if you're like, my right is what needs my love and attention first, to do everything on your right side first. It's really your preference. So, excuse me, I'm creaky today. Leg of your choice, my left leg out to the side, right foot will come into the body. It does not have to be perfectly attached to the thigh. There can be space in between there. Blocks, or even your bolster maybe, to roughly each side of the knee, potentially. And there's a couple of different variations we can take. Our half butterfly, we're going to work into our QL muscle, which, fun enough, works in conjunction with our psoas muscle. So what one does, the other does in a lot of ways. So if one is tight, the other is likely tight. And the only thing that separates the psoas and the QL muscle is this layer of fascia that they share. There's nothing else separating them. So they really do work hand in hand. So for our half butterfly, I'm going to offer up two variations. The first variation is a lateral stretch, bringing your forearm to the outer part of your leg. So my left forearm to the outer part of my leg onto the block, and then leaning to the side. My right hand can kind of do whatever it wants. It can stay here. It may be awkward at first, but it does have a tendency to sort of like relax and release as the shape goes on. Here, half bind, so reaching around the back, or you can reach your arm up and over. Try not to reach for the toes. We're not forcing the stretch. We're just using the arm to help lengthen out the side. So that's option one. Option two is the chest and heart directly over the leg. So you're just turning completely over the leg. This is where the blocks on both sides can come in real handy because you can rest your forearms here. The more you let the neck hang, the more you might find the stretch intensifies. So adjust that intensity by maybe coming into the double I'm bored look or the TV watching look, or if you've taken the lateral stretch, the single I'm bored look, or the single I'm watching TV look. Totally up to you and your preference today. We'll be in this shape for about 4 minutes on each side. So ease into it, especially if you're feeling this very quickly in the low back, okay? Always the option to come out of anything as soon as you need to. Listen to your body. I'm going to let you be for the remainder of the shape. Find your breath. As you're ready, on an exhale, very mindfully, begin to move out of the shape. Take your time. This is one shape I have found that moans and groans tend to escape the body. Let it happen. That's just another way of listening and verbalizing. Taking any movements that feel good to you. It might be nice to come crisscross applesauce and just move back and forth here. You may decide that instead of that, you just want to bring your arms behind you, opening up the heart. We're taking some seated cat-cows. And then once again, in your time, in your space, we're going to move on to the other side. So take your time to get there. If you're still taking the movement that you need, feel free to do that. Or if you come into stillness and need to hang out there. So again, our two variations with all the other arm variations and options that come with that are lateral stretch or our over the leg stretch. Okay. Adjust your blocks. Maybe they come up to the blocks come up to the medium level or the highest level instead of being on the lowest level, or you might use your bolster or pillow over your leg this time. You might find on this side that the arm reaches up, or on the last side it didn't, or it comes down. It's really up to you. I'm gonna let you be. You know what to do. Find your breath. We'll see you in 4 minutes. As you're ready, just begin to unwind from your shape. Take your time. Take any final movements that you need in your body before coming into your Savasana, your final resting pose. So on your back, on your belly, maybe you move to a wall and place legs up the wall. You can always come into a seated meditation, even onto your side, or a child's pose if that's what you really need. But let this be a true place of rest. Oftentimes as we come into this shape, people might be thinking, why do I need to do this? I'm not doing anything. And that's the point. We're not to do anything. And in the doing nothing, we may learn a lot about ourselves. And the body, get a really good chance to just be. It may change the whole day. It may just change this moment. But let this be about true rest and letting go. Feel as if everything is starting to grow heavy as you connect with the earth. Take a deep, slow breath in through the nose. And exhale, open mouth, sigh it out, let it go. Starting to reawaken your senses, inviting some gentle movement back into your body. Taking your time slowly and mindfully find your way to a comfortable seat. This can be crisscross applesauce, legs extended out long. Maybe you move up against a wall. Always an option to sit up on a pillow or a block or a blanket. We'll just pause for a moment to check back in and just notice how you feel. Notice your breath. And notice your awareness of the space around you and in your body. How can you hold space for yourself and hold space for others today? As we bring our hands to our heart space, bow our heads in a moment of gratitude, thanking ourselves for making time for our practice today, and silently thanking those who joined us to create this virtual community in this virtual space. It's always such a joy to share this practice with you all. I look forward to Thursdays now, and I'm so excited to be with you again. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic Friday Eve, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Let me know if you have any questions.
That was great. Thank you.
I was good, Sarah. You, Martha.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Good having you. Thanks, Elise. See you guys hopefully next week.